Hi, I'm Rita Wilkins, also known as the Downsizing Designer. Thank you for all of your feedback on some of the videos that I've been doing on interior design and then also on downsizing and decluttering. And I'm getting a lot of very practical tips from all of you in terms of what you want me to talk about. So, one of those ideas came from a conversation I was having with someone recently who was considering a major kitchen renovation. And she said to me, what should I know? What are some of your most practical tips? So that's what I'm going to talk about today is really practical advice to anyone considering a major kitchen renovation. And probably when you think about a kitchen renovation, it's one of the biggest that you could undertake because it's so disruptive and it creates a lot of inconvenience. So, after all, it is the heart of the home. It's where people not only cook, but they hang out, they eat, they work, they entertain. Now, snacking, homework, sitting, all of those are activities that we do in our kitchen. And when these activities are interrupted, there's an inevitable chaos and also upset. So, but thinking things through prior to the renovation, just anticipating some of the problems that might occur, will tentatively help to prevent some of the arguments and also prevent some of the undue stress. But it can also streamline the process and just make your renovation go so much smoother. So, in my career as a designer for over 35 years, we do about 10 kitchens a year. So, I have personally designed about 350 kitchens. That's a lot of kitchens. But moreover, it's really a lot of very practical experiences in the field where something happened. What do you do about it? What could you do to prevent it in the future? So, that's where these five very practical tips have come in. So there are my top favorites that I want to share with you. So, number one, make sure that your measures are accurate. Since kitchen design is so precise, even if you're off by 1 inch or 2 inches, it doesn't sound like much, but it could be. It could mean that the cabinet doesn't fit, so you have to reorder the cabinet or multiple cabinets. It could mean that you have to add additional trim, additional labor. It could mean just adding additional costs for labor because you held up the project. So, and also the timeline. So it's best to measure more than once, and I usually recommend that we measure at least 3 times. And that would be, I would measure, my team would measure, the general contractor would measure, and the kitchen cabinet person would measure. It sounds like a redundancy, but in the end, it's well worth it. The second one is to set a realistic budget and then add 20%. So you've probably heard this before, but when you're budgeting a renovation budget, it's best to calculate all your costs, add the 20% for the inevitable unforeseen conditions, that happen behind the walls when you're renovating. We've seen everything from rotted flooring underneath the dishwasher to improper wiring, beams that need to have additional support. All of these things they couldn't necessarily have been seen prior to the demo, so the extra 20% will go to help offset some of those additional expenses. So, and they have to be rectified because otherwise the inspections won't pass, and you're the one that has to get stuck with the cost. So, it's best to anticipate these added costs when you're budgeting your process. Then the third very practical tip when you're renovating is to set a realistic timeline and then add 20%. So the average time to renovate a small to medium kitchen is anywhere between 6 to 8 weeks actual time. And if you're looking at a medium-sized kitchen or a larger kitchen, it could be 10 to 12 weeks and certainly longer depending on the amount of renovation, but that's just a little bit of an average. So budgeting for the actual work should include adding on for time delays, for materials not coming in on time, templating the countertops, because that can't be done until the very end anyway. So the best thing is you could be nicely surprised that your contractor is not only on time but also on budget, but you can at least prepare. And then the fourth thing is to prepare well in advance for your kitchen demolition. So as the downsizing designer, it's important that you edit first. So do you really need all of those extra mugs, all of those extra plastic containers, all of those extra things that we accumulated? It's a great time to get rid of those, to either donate, sell, but you certainly don't need to take up the space in your new kitchen. So the second thing is to box your items that you're going to need, and just try to stay, if you can, to the bare essentials. You're not going to have a lot of room, and it's important to not have to have everything, during this temporary period of renovation. A fifth thing is, for those of you that have difficulty visualizing, and that is true in my world, that a lot of people just cannot see what we see, from the beginning of the project to the end of the project. What's my kitchen going to look like? So as a designer, I provide as many tools as necessary to help my client see what they don't see and help them visualize. So one of those tools is 3D renderings, and we can do drawings from every different angle of the room so that you can see what the kitchen would look like from the family room, from the dining room, from other adjoining spaces, so you can actually see it before it's built. A second one is to use physical templates. So a lot of times for an island, as an example, people can't quite visualize, is that island going to be big enough, or is it too big for me? So we actually put physical templates on the floor. It could be, with newspaper, it can be marked out on the, on the floor itself. But that helps people visualize. And then the third thing is to visit neighbors who might live in your neighborhood, who have a similar house, who might have done a renovation. It helps you to see, and not that you want to copy them, but it's just that, what would it be like if that wall wasn't there? So it not only helps you to clarify your vision, but it's also pretty inspiring, to and motivating to see the end result before it's done. And then the last thing is to weigh the pros and cons, or the advantages, disadvantages of either staying in your home during the renovation process, or setting up a temporary residence in a nearby hotel or Airbnb or something like that. And what I recommend is you actually make a list, be on the computer, on the paper, but start by making a list. In one column, advantages for staying, the other column, disadvantages. So advantages might be, overseeing the project day to day. So some people really like the process. They're not going to be bothered by a lot of the things that go on. But overseeing the process and the project, help keeping it on track. So when you're there day to day, the contractor knows that. So if they show up at 10 o'clock versus 8 o'clock, you're going to be able to track some of that, and it's an opportunity for you to, turn the project around. It's an opportunity for you to troubleshoot. So inevitably there are things that happen in the field, that decisions need to be made. And being there on site, and at least quickly available, you help to be able to handle some of those critical decisions. Also, for some people, it's actually less stressful to live, in the space itself, and to be able to oversee it. Now, conversely, disadvantages. So if dust and messes and allergies and noise, if that upsets you, it might be something for you to consider moving off-site during the renovation, because there will be all of that. And some people just think it's a sanity move to, get out of, because it's so distressing for them to undergo all of that craziness, which, when you see, drywall dust in your kitchen, your old kitchen, I mean, some people get very upset about that. It is part of the process. It's the natural part of the process. But if that upsets you, then it's certainly something to consider to go off-site. And other things to consider are just the cost of eating out, because if you are living in another location, that may be one of the things that you have to think about. So I hope that these tips have helped you. I will say that it's definitely, worth your while to think about these things prior to renovating. And I would love to talk to you a little bit more about it if you'd like. So I always have available a complimentary 30-minute consultation. You just go to my website, Rita Wilkins at ritawilkins.com. And then also, if you want a free download, it's how to design your dream kitchen. Go to my website, Rita Wilkins at ritawilkins.com, and you can download that, and then you're welcome to ask me any questions or anything. So I hope this has been helpful to you, and I will be creating another video very soon. Thanks.